you walk away this time? Do you realize, do you recognize it's never over? Or would you walk away this time? 'Cause we all face the fire as we search for the light in the dead of the night. Will you rise above the days to come? Will it be enough? Or will you walk away this time? Look to your left, to your right, there by your side. 'Cause we all face the fire as we search for the light in the dead of the night. Feel that rush through time. Can you feel this? You found change. Only yourself are here again.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Division 2 match between Caeli and Tyne. I'm Kachka and I will be bringing you this best of 3 series today with Karen.
Hello everyone, I profusely apologize for having to delay the stream for a bit. However, I had some technical personal problems with, phone calls. I suppose you guys know how it is. Regardless, we're going to be witnessing a pretty interesting game today because Tyne Esport, they have been on fire in Division 2 thus far. However, today they are standing at one of the most vulnerable spots that we have seen them be in so far. So I'm really looking forward to Caeli. Let's see if they can surprise us because they have been sort of in the slums, but they have shown us that they still hold promise.
Definitely, Tyne. For Tyne, Koink isn't playing today. The guy that has carried pretty much majority of the games is safe to say through that middle lane. One of the reasons why Tyne have not lost a single Nexus in Division 2 yet. He isn't here today, and Caeli, I really hope they will be able to take advantage of that. So how do you think they will try to approach this game?
So whenever when I was thinking about how Caeli wants to approach this game, I was thinking about that Koing is going to be in the mid lane. That is going to shape up things dramatically in those picks and bans. I do still believe that draft phase is going to play a really big role for Caeli because some player that Tyne Esport have always found success with time and time again outside of Koing and his individual outplays has been Yelperen, the support. If you focus him down in the first round of bans, you will essentially force Tyne out of that comfort zone because they always meet these prerequisites. They have a good roaming support or something that Yelperen can find good engages with. That's been the check for most of these games. Then you have a strong mid lane presence who can find those leads, and you have a top laner that doesn't fall behind and a jungler that can always farm up. So I'm looking forward to Caeli, what they're going to focus on. Of course, it's going to be Rose in the top lane, or sorry, Resourcen in the top lane and Rose in the jungle. So that's also a possibility that it's going to change how Caeli approach this ban phase with that Vladimir hover as we're getting into it.
Resourcen does like to play the Vladimir in the top lane a lot on top of some other split pushers. We will see if Caeli decide to ban that out, because one of the people that they could look to play through is Hunike, who has recently also been on a downward spiral. Most of his champion have fallen out of favor and he really wasn't able to find that much success. But if you can find him on a carry champion and enable him, then he can definitely be the person that Caeli need in order to win the game.
Yeah, and you're saying that those champions of his that used to be his former mains have sort of fallen out of favor, and I definitely agree with that. However, they're still not gone just yet. Kennen is still a really strong top laner. It's just not the insta-log that you would see before. As I say, it's banned out, so Tyne, of course, still, you know, putting a lot of respect forwards to that lovely top laner of Unike, of course. From Caeli, Instead, it's Aurelia taken away, just once again trying to combat this top lane, which is showing me that they want to play through it, as you rightfully mentioned. It was the other lane that I was going to focus on and see if Panda was going to be playing through there. I have to once again specify that it's Lazy Panda, not Nick the Panda, because there are 2 pandas in the lineup of... That was bad, wasn't it? Regardless, I'm still excited to see what Caeli decides to bring up, as they do not ban something.
Yep, that does seem to be an empty ban. Tide also removing the Morgana as their last support ban so far. Just a standard champion that is pretty annoying, so no real surprises. I guess apart from that missed ban, you know, we're gonna have to see what that exactly is.
A bit of an oopsie, but Caeli, they're hovering the Ezreal pick. I would like it. Yeah, I would say so. Taking it away from Tiny's board. Of course, they still do have something that is really comfortable for Hekatos to pick up, which is that Lucian. However, I don't think that they necessarily have to prioritize it this early on. They instead should focus around that support. Of course, you can still lock in yourself the Braum together with Lucian. Make sure that you get that aggressive, strong bot lane instead of letting it go to this Ezreal, which would just allow him to roam a lot. Of course, now Kai'Sa being hovered, we have seen Hekatos play these hyper carries a lot. Not always has he managed to find success. It tends to be off on the back of Resourcen if he's on a ganking jungler, and most of the time on a Yelperen. But now Alistar is locked in, and that is something that I really didn't want to see if I were in the shoes of Caeli. A strong bot lane that can also roam a lot and affect a lot of the map.
Yelperen, he's got the Alistar, as you said, he's got the tools to win the game, and the roaming, once he picks up something like those mobility boosts to just influence literally every single other lane. And I like that bot lane from Tiny. They've got the Caeli as well for the priority. I believe that Nick the Panda had a pretty solid performance on Ezreal in game 1 against Lyra, but he wasn't really able to get that much in the lane, and now Tiny, they've just got the possibility to play that ball lane, but Caeli, they got so much poke locked in right now.
Yeah, already a really big poke composition coming through for them. It's actually pretty difficult to play a poke composition at the highest levels, so we're going to see how they manage to play around the map and mostly around the vision, because once again, you're not going to have the pressure that you would want from that bot side in the laning phase. Now, what I am looking for Tyne to just do right now is ban out some of the counter picks for jungle. You definitely do want Rose on something that can play around the map. Wait, I'm just looking at it. Is it going to be Rose in the top lane or Resourcen? Because on the screen...
I think... okay, I think it is going to be Resourcen in the top lane and Rose in the jungle, since that is how they are in the client, and Tide themselves have confirmed that this is their order. Yes, so yeah. Okay,
good. So... you would want Rose on something like that Sejuani, especially if you're not going into a direct counter pick like that Trundle, like that Lee Sin, like that Xin Zhao. Of course, we have seen something like Jarvan be played from Lazy Panda. That player himself, I have a lot of question marks pinging towards him already, because right from the get-go, he's going to have to prove to us that he is a strong jungler, because he is going to have to sort of balance out the amount of pressure that Tyne are going to be inflicting upon the game with this bot lane. Assuming that Caeli don't go for something like a Pike or like a Thresh, something that can effectively just roam all over the map and try to influence it from there, there's going to be a really big burden off on the back of Lazy Panda, and something that he hasn't always proven to us is that he can play around the map well. What you will always see him do is that he tends to go for full clears of his jungle, and only then he sort of kinda sometimes looks around ganks, and that is going to have to change today if he wishes to impact the map a lot more.
Definitely, just running through the phase to balance time, moving Jarvan and Gragas, both junglers that can be played when you want to focus on the ganks, and Jarvan is also a champion that Lazy Panda has played in the past, whereas Caeli, they are removing two very strong solo lane split pushers in Jax and Yorick, trying to make sure that Jace can have as good of a matchup as possible, but Fiora is open, and I think Tyne are gonna look at it and okay, something even better is the Darius.
Ooh, so Darius Jace likely going to be the matchup in that top lane. That has such big explosion potential. Every single one of these top laners can just snowball out of control, and this is going to be a relatively skill matchup. However, Jace wins out in the first couple of levels unless Darius gets a good cheesy engage in really early. Ivern being hovered.
And then locked in as well as, well, Blitzcrank, do it, go for it.
Oh my god, no.
Yes.
No, okay.
We're
Right.
going for a Blitzcrank against an Alistar and Tyne hovering Oriana.
So, what Caeli have essentially locked themselves is a really good early game burst comp. I had a big question for Caeli when preparing for today's game, and that was, can they be proactive in the early game? Already, they are sort of showing us that they want to be proactive. This comp is going to have a lot of pressure in the early game. However, most of it is going to be coming through that top lane. Something that Jace isn't likely to win himself unless he gets a nice outplay and just keeps on poking and poking and poking Darius over and over and over. And while he does have prerequisites for it, Unique hasn't actually been seeing that strong as of late. So a lot of that early game pressure is going to be coming through the top lane, something that Ivern is going to have to divert his resources towards. And in the meantime, the Caeli bot lane, they just have to survive, which is why I am looking at this Blitzcrank pick with raised eyebrows, because, well, if you know Blitzcrank, he wants to go in, or rather he wants to force the enemy to go in, and that doesn't precisely tie in with the rest of the narrative for this team comp.
Yeah, it really doesn't, especially that you are playing a Blitzcrank. And then you have Alistar, Sejuani, and Darius, and I don't think you really want to hook any of those three. So yeah. Gorge, he will have a very tough task in order to, in terms of the pick selection, because like, what do you even do as the Blitzcrank? Maybe we can see some level 1 invade, hopefully. Oh yeah. But then apart from that, roaming, I guess, is the only real way for that Blitzcrank to be useful.
Yeah, and something that I'm also looking forward to is that invade that you mentioned. You technically can see Blitzcrank going for a hook level 1. Well, you're almost always going to see that, but you can expect them to work in tandem with their jungler to try and steal away the blue buff if the enemy is on the red side. That is actually going to be impossible because Ivern, well, he doesn't deal too much damage and is going to be just giving up too much of that pressure that they want to get in from this Alistar and Caitlyn bot lane from the get-go. Once again, this early game pressure is going to be... what's the word I'm looking for? Damn.
Immerse.
Immerse. I think we can immerse ourselves in this game.
Yes, we can.
But yes, it's still going to be immense, and something that I don't believe that we've actually talked about too much is that Tyne have also locked themselves in the prerequisites that I gave out for them that I mentioned. The only one that isn't precisely being ticked right now is that strong mid laner. Generally, you would see coin on something like that Caeli, something like that LeBlanc, something that can really snowball well. This time around, Tyne are saying, no, we're not really planning to play through that mid lane. We're instead going to be either focusing around bot and top, and so we're actually going to be seeing a really different version of Tyne, something that can perhaps highlight some of their more hidden weaknesses or strengths as we move into the playoffs.
Definitely, because Tyne so far have been a very one-dimensional team. You just had Coin, snowballing mid lane, sometimes Hecatus would also join in with the carry, and the Alpern would be trying to make plays, whereas top lane, they would be just left to play the game, pretty much. And that the thing is, when you come into the playoffs, that could be both a strength because you aren't really showing too many of your cards, as well as a potential weakness because, well, we don't know if Tyne can adapt should their mid laner be banned out or targeted, and this game will prove to be a big statement. However, something that I just want to highlight is I believe Holberg in the first half of the split, when he was playing on Ares, week 6, something like that, he had a really good Lux game. And he is playing against Rabel, who is a... I'm sorry for that, by the way.
No worries.
Who is playing on an Oriana, and you know, he's an AD carry man. He isn't calling, so I want to see whether Holberg can actually utilize that and get himself some picks and be the very scary Lux that he has shown a few months back to be.
Yeah, a few months is a bit of a stretch even for that. However, I do remember that game fondly. I remember him just deleting someone with the blinding light. Binding light, not blinding. Literally just with a Q.
Binding, yes.
Yeah, I remember that he actually one-shot someone with it. So, that was fun. Regardless, I am not expecting Caeli to actually play through this mid lane because, well, Lux is a champion that has a nice setup, but she tends to work better with junglers that actually, have damage. Unless she manages to just keep on poking out Orianna from the get-go throughout the entirety of the laning phase, it's going to be impossible for Lazy Panda to come around to that mid lane and try to do really anything, especially before he even hits that level 6 and that Daisy. Sure, you can get a lot of chain CC and you can stun this Orianna down for a really long time, but well, as long as she has the flash, she's always going to be able to escape just because of your burst not being sufficient enough. So once again, it sort of just falls down to Caeli playing around some other lanes. Again, I'm not expecting them to really play through that bot lane either. With this Blitzcrank pick, it's pretty, how would you say,
pretty niche and
from an alternate dimension.
Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't have expected
Okay, you
that.
finally gave me an excuse for my weird support picks. Thank you for that word.
No, your support picks are literally just from another universe. Like, if you had a universe where Australians were actually normal people, right? That's the dimension where your support picks are. Regardless, something that I'm going to be looking at is how strong can Unique be if he is given the resources. Because my point with Unique is, you mentioned that before we started drafting, but he hasn't always been on point, especially because he hasn't been able to find those leads for himself. However, that may not be precisely an unexpected thing, because you don't necessarily judge someone based on their quality of how they're able to gain those leads by themselves. It's always more of a surprise. So if we're going to be seeing Lazy Panda work more with Unique, I'm going to be pretty, first of all, surprised, and second, hopeful, because it's going to once again unlock another way of playstyle for Caeli. For Caeli. Yes, something that I feel they have been sort of missing as well lately, and perhaps they can surprise us, especially with something like that Blitzcrank pick. Come on.
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to see Caeli do well for another reason. It is that they are locked into quarterfinals for those playoffs next week, most likely against Crater. There is still a possibility of them moving up to a third seed, but that is not in their hands. It will depend on how Roskilde play against Ares on Thursday or tomorrow. I think it's Thursday. So it's not in their hands. Most likely playing against Crater in the quarterfinals, which are best of 3. So you wanna have a really good last game of this regular season. Maybe, pull out something new. Maybe just, play for fun, as I think Falcas messaged me before the game. Just try something new.
Yeah, trying something new. Blitzcrank. I'm unsure. They could have had already just gone for Twitch support with Glacial Augment, and it probably would have had worked out in a similar vein in this picks and ban phase. Of course, we're going to have to see how that plays out. We still have around a minute on the Spectator delay. Thank you guys for bearing with us for now. Returning to that playoff point, you mentioned that Caeli are locked in for quarterfinals. So from that point on, it's not going to change too much. However, something that not necessarily Caeli are playing for, but rather Tyne, is that first spot. If they get beaten 0-2, okay, and I know that this may be a stretch, right? But they are still seeming at the weakest point just because they have had the lack of Coin today, someone that has been mostly been played through for the lineup of Tyne. So this is perhaps the most vulnerable that they're ever going to get. And so it may be the time for Caeli to just swoop in, get that victory, maybe go for that third seed, because if Tyne lose both of the games today, they're going to be likely going into that second spot. If they win both games, they're locked in for the first spot, and they would get just a straight up ticket over to Randers for the finals.
Well, I mean, not only if they win the match, they need to win just one game. Literally, losing 1 and 2 still locks them in first place, because Lyra just won't be able to catch up point-wise. And, if you're first seed, then yeah, your semi-final is also going to be there. So you want to get that, and when you're Tyne, then you will be pretty happy with how you're placed anyways. As we should be loading into the game fairly soon. The spectator delay has ended, I believe. One last point that I really want to touch on is Nick the Panda played against Lyra on Sunday, I believe. That was 2 days ago, and in game 1 Caeli, they were ahead and managed to lose the game, but until that point Nick the Panda's Ezreal has been pretty impressive in that mid game, and he didn't fall behind against the Lucian, which is something that he could look to use against the Caitlyn.
Yeah, I feel like if you get this Ezreal ahead of Caitlyn, you can actually utilize the range advantage that you're going to have with those Mystic shots. However, you sort of have to be ahead for that to really count, and if you give up an early kill onto that Caitlyn, it's just going to be a nightmare for you to survive in that bot lane. Another thing that I want to point out, since we're already on the topic of bot lane, Nictopanda is running that teleport Ezreal. He isn't going for that heal. This means he wants to be able to just go back for that tier. He wants to stack up, possibly instead buy a Shin and try to pressure the lane that way. However, for that to work out, he's going to be heading into a really strong bot lane duo once again. And given that he isn't going to have a combat summoner, in this case heal, it may just end up with Alistar and Caitlyn jumping on top of him level 3 or even level 2 possibly as soon as Caitlyn gets those traps and just blowing him out of the water. So in the first couple of levels, it's going to be all about this bot lane, as well as, funnily enough, around the top lane, because if Unikay gets played out in level 1 or 2, that's not because he's playing Jace against Darius, it's just because, well, Resorson is the superior laner.
Yeah, that Jace also, when you're behind, not the best one. I think we have all seen a Jace that falls behind and you aren't really able to do anything, so Unikay also needs to be ahead, or at the very least, even if he wants to have any impact, because let's be honest, that Jace later on in the game, he doesn't do that much apart from this initial burst. As I believe we should be going into the game about now or in a few seconds.
The point I want to bring up, right? I was looking at the mastery points on the loading screen because, well, that's what you can do even if you're spectating. Lazy Panda has 905 points on Ezreal, or not on Ezreal, on Ivern, you know? I just, you know, wanted to bring that up, perhaps lower the expectations a bit, but let's just see if he can influence the map a lot, because something that I'm looking forward to him is invading as this Ivern. Something that you will see often is that Ivern starts on the bot side and he runs immediately over to the opposing top side camp of the enemy jungle. He stows it away, you know, just goes hard-dar. In the bot lane, trading going on.
Gorange did find the hook onto Hecatus, however there was no follow-up from Caeli, and as a result no one really dies, no one really is even taken low, no potions burned, so actually not that much happened.
Yeah, not that much happened. Of course, if you guys are just tuning in, we are going to be watching Tiny Esport versus Caeli. Tiny Esport still playing for those final spot. If they win one game in this series, they're locked in for finals. Caeli, they're playing for better seeding, locked in for quarterfinals.
They're locked in semifinals.
Yeah, locked in semifinals? No, okay. Tyne are locked in semifinals. Yeah. If they win one game, if you were listening to what I was saying, if they win one game, they're in finals.
Wait, no, that actually is.
Wait,
not...
is that not how the playoffs work? Well, okay.
No, it is.
I'm a dum-dum.
It is the winners of two semifinals, I believe, that are going into the final.
Okay, well, I'm a dum-dum. Actual caster, by the way, that has been casting this league for a couple of months. Regardless, there was a bit of a cheese potential happening from Caeli's bot lane. Gorange and Nictopanda tried to do something around that blue buff, but alas, nothing happens. And right now, Lazy Panda, he's expending a lot of mana and a lot of HP. He is going to get spotted out by that Pixel Brush ward. So, Tyne, they don't have any reason to be scared just yet.
Yeah, also, I mean, ganking on an Ivern, not something that you really want to prioritize. Yes, you have got that root collar, but I think you mentioned it in the draft, before you hit that Daisy, it will be difficult to pull them off. As Holberg takes a lot of damage, so does Rubble in that mid lane. Both Yorian and Lux trying to get the advantage early. That is the ball as well onto Holberg, but Rubble has to back out. The trade through so close.
And this is pretty much just two mages trading in the early game. Not all of their abilities unlocked yet. However, Orianna technically gets the better of Lux just because of that passive where she stacks the damage on her auto attacks. However, Rubbleguff is forced to flash. He runs into Binding Light.
Yeah, the Light Binding connects onto Rubble. Holberg, he doesn't fall up. He needs to be careful. Both of the flashes actually are down on those mid laners. I did not quite get to see how that happened, but that also means that they can be ganked by the junglers.
And right now, Holberg is actually putting down a lot of pressure as this Lux. Really glad to see that. Something that we haven't seen him perform well with. if you ever wanted some pressure be developed now in the mid lane. However, Rosie is there to sway the tides, and the wave is way too far out.
Yeah, Holberg tries to go in for that kill, connects the binding, pops the barrier, can he get the one last auto attack onto Rubble? There is the stun from Rosie, and first blood should be secured. Lazy Panda tries to come in to do some work. However, he flashes over the wall, he really wants that kill onto Rubble, but now he himself is stunned with that permafrost. He pops down the brush, really trying to buy some more time, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. Rosie might just get the second kill, and there it is.
I'm not sure what Resourcen was trying to go for there. He roamed over in case, you know, it was absolutely necessary. However, that was a big misstep from both Holberg and Lazy Panda. As soon as Sejuani was in that lane, Holberg knew he's not getting out of there alive. Inferior vision control over the river surrounding that mid lane. Of course, if you're ever going to be pushing up with a big minion wave, you always have to make sure that you know where the enemy jungler is. And right now, Holberg didn't know it, and he got rightly punished for it.
Yeah, he lost his life, he lost quite a lot of minions if you take a look at the difference. Also, Calling apparently is in Czechia, so Karim, if you wanna share him his address so he can come and cast, then, you know, feel free, maybe for a game 3.
Pojďme, něco spolu dáme. Okay, regardless, moving back into English mode, we're, right now, already 1,000 gold lead on the side of Tyne. Once again, something that Tyne have always been great at is just taking a lead, creating it, and running away with it. And so far, they are already doing that. In the other point, in Caeli, they're not really able to develop too much pressure, not too unexpected. Unique is already losing out on a lot of creeps though, almost 10. Of course, this wave is going to be crashing in, but Resourcen is taking a stamp and making sure that Unique just does not get anything.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job in the zoning. Pretty much, I mean, Unique cannot take that many trades. Yes, he has the health advantage that mostly comes down to the ranged versus melee matchup, but Resourcen has got the wave pushing in. And I really like what Tyne are doing overall with that wave control. However, bot lane, for the side of Caeli, is surprisingly doing pretty well. And now they actually have Lazy Panda sitting in that brush.
And well, Tyne do know that he's there. They did see him running over that ward, and he may be coming in for a kill.
Yeah, the root collar does find its mark onto Yelpred, and there is the grab as well, and Lazy Panda dashes forward, picks up the kill. The teleport, however, is channeled. Resourcen is coming in, double upper hand, and the decimate as well. Lazy Panda is just gonna get cut down where he stands. Hecatus picks up the kill. Now in the mid lane, Holberg, he does find the root onto Rose, and now switching quickly back into the bot side. I think Goran should be saved. That's not the cover net, and the hit shot from Hecatus! A double kill for the Caitlyn!
That was a misstep, I'm sorry, I'm going to say, but a really important double kill heading into the pockets of Hecatus. Lazy Panda had the right idea, but an immediate teleport from Resourcen makes sure that their plans are immediately foiled. Unique, he does shove in a giant wave in that top lane, but instead he's not really getting any plates out of it. Instead, he's going back, realizing that the Rose is going to be heading over there. And in the mid lane, a 20 CS deficit already being built up against Holberg, who... Well, it's the wave. Those mechanics, you know, really lovely, really lovely.
Definitely, and right now if we just take a short break to re-evaluate the state of the game, because I feel like a lot has happened. Tyne ahead in kills, they've got 2 on Rose, 2 on the Hecatus. However, I don't think I will get to finish that. Yelper and Lazy Panda just exchanged stirs in that river. Okay, coming back, 2 kills on Rose, 2 kills on Hecatus. The CS is even in the bot lane, roughly even in the top lane. However, Rubblegav has a pretty nice mid lane CS advantage.
Rubblegav definitely making sure to once again just snowball out of that early advantage that he managed to get thanks to that gank from Rose. I had a question if they were still going to focus around mid lane. They still are doing it. They're still using that strong mid jungle duo, so I'm glad to see that. Of course, the only lane that isn't precisely going, well, terrible for Caeli right now is that bot lane. Nick the Panda, he has managed to pick up that Sheen and is already stacking that tier, so I feel like right now we can just expect Nick to try and pop off in the mid game. Of course, Controller Ward spotting out Rubblegav.
Yeah, Rubblegav is roaming down the bot lane. Gorange is knocked off as well as stun. That is the ignite coming through. I don't think he can really escape the ace in the hole. Will secure the kill as Shockwave finds its mark onto Nick the Panda. He's sitting at that time of flash forward from Rubblegav to pick up that kill.
I have to say, I tapped onto the Ezreal icon for the last second. He had precisely 0.5 seconds to jump away from that Orianna ball. That is just so unfortunate. However, really great setup from Yelperin once again. If you give this man something with such strong engage like Alistar, he is a go... What am I trying to say? He is always going to be able to find these setups and find these leads. And Tyne, once again, they're running away with the lead. And at this point, the game very well may be over. What I'm still looking at for Caeli is, can a Nick the Panda get into a spot where he is able to try to take away the game? Can Caeli right now just try to stall away, maybe give a couple of items to Holberg, and after that, they can maybe try to find these leads?
You know, talking about Holberg, I'm really puzzled about one thing. How did he catch up in mid lane CS when nothing major has happened?
So you remember how Rubblegov just ran to bot lane, right?
Okay.
Yeah, he was just in mid lane. Okay. Yeah, he was just in mid lane, farming, not really getting the turret plating, but still he caught up on that CS, and so right now the only real lead that Rubblegov is going to have in that mid lane is that kill and that level advantage, or rather experience advantage. Of course, he's still going to have a lot more wave presence, or lane presence, should I say. So let's see how Tyne managed to snowball this even into a bigger lead. Of course, Tyne, once again, going to repeat myself, they're really good at closing out games, something that cannot be said about all of the teams. Gorange, together with Nick the Panda, actually run over to mid lane. However, they're spotted by a ward, and so they bravely run away back into that bot lane.
Yeah, bravely run away back. That is a nice choice of words. I am still though looking at Yelperin to see if he can make the plays. At this point, with Hecatus being 3-0-1, I think bot lane is a viable place, and there is the engage onto Gorange as Hecatus gets hooked himself. Takes a bit of damage, however, so does Nick the Panda.
God.
That is just sad. This Ezreal is getting chunked down very low.
At this point, I feel like I have to mention the itemization of Hecatos. He is running that BF sword and pickaxe. He does have those 3 kills, and so he just deals incredible amounts of damage to Nick the Panda. Nick, he cannot precisely trade right now. Right now, he has to just utilize the range advantage from Mystic shots and not really do anything outside of that. You see him always jumping forward, getting Q in, and...
Oh, the true shot barrage onto Yelperin.
Well done.
Finds the kill. That's interesting.
That was fun, you know. That was really fun, lovely to see. No, but it's important that Nick the Panda manages to find these leads. Of course, I'm not going to let myself talk in the top lane. Yeah,
Hunike has to burn the flash on the attack resource, and flashing forward, the Noxing goes and doesn't finish the kill. However, bot lane Hecatus gets hooked back. Nice shockwave on the 2 members. Nick the Panda is still tanking that turret. Lazy Panda flashing away will get shut down. I mean, killed by Rubblegov, and now Nick the Panda is second. That's a double kill. Gorange looking to utilize the blast over the wall. The Rubblegov still on the chase, or he doesn't have the flash, so he stops it right here in the end. That is a 2-for-2.
And a really greedy play there from Caeli, diving right now top lane though. Rose is still going in.
Yeah, Rose tries to get a kill onto Hunike. He finds the permafrost. Hunike tries to still get away. The Winter's Wrath will secure the kill. Rose is on a killing spree.
That was, well, unfortunate once again for Hunike. Of course, he didn't go back in time. Rose just lapped around, you know, did a few laps, ran around and got the kill. Holberg in the top lane, however, he's going to get squeezed in between a cow and a hard place.
Yeah, that is the pulverize as well. The light binding finds a mark onto Rose, but he is on the rampage as the ignite from Yelperin also helps to secure the kill. And right now, Tyne, they are just doing their usual Tyne things, I feel like, getting the lead and running away with it.
Yeah, right now they're not really showing us too much new. They're once again just playing their style. They have been allowed by Caeli to do precisely that. They're just snowballing once again out of control. Holberg is unable to do anything because, well, he is way too far behind. He is sitting on a lost chapter at 12 minutes and 2 Doran's rings, so he doesn't deal too much damage. Perhaps that could have gone differently if it wasn't the Fed Sejuani.
Look at the ball, it's the full combo from Gorange, and that will be the kill onto Nick the Panda.
I'm actually really glad to be seeing this because Caeli, I mentioned that they have to try to shut down bot lane. And if you see Yelperin on the other side of the map, it's a good call to go against Hecatos and shut him down. Try to get Nick the Panda ahead. Right now, that is going to be the best avenue that you can take to try to snowball and win this game. So really glad to be seeing Caeli to try to minimize this CS lead. Or sorry, not CS lead. Well, that as well, but the gold lead that Tyne have managed to bring themselves.
Now Rubbleguff in that melee, he burns the flash as well as the shockwave. Good summoning from Caeli, I must say there, to force both of those cooldowns.
That was an interesting hitbox on that shockwave. I feel like that should have had not hit, but regardless, it pulls Scorange back, and so Rubbleguff escapes with his life. Of course, hitting level 10, just one level away from hitting that level 2 ultimate, at which point Orianna becomes really disgusting to play against, especially now that she does have that Luden's Echo already. Of course, the mid lane, or the surrounding areas of mid lane, lit up like a Christmas tree. The vision control right now predominantly sitting in the hands of Caeli.
Oh, Gorage flashing forward. He really wants to make the plays. I mean, you can get an F for effort.
You know, I feel like he tried to hook the banner, right, on the wall. Perhaps he really wanted it. Perhaps he had not won in Clash yet. Possibility.
Yeah. Well, now we see a fight break out. Yelpran goes in with a double knockout with this pulverized. Rosa now joins the fray, and Lazy Panda is stunned for ages. The trigger seed coming out for the shield, but Winter's Wrath will secure the kill. The Glacial Prison goes wide, and now the Mountain Drake is the next focus for Tyne. Hunike, it does not join the fight, so this should be another objective, unless the final strike. Now, it's on cooldown. There is no way for Caeli to secure this.
Well, Tyne managed to become themselves another Mountain Drake. Of course, you still have to remember, Caeli, they want to go for these fights, but they are way too far behind to do so. They don't necessarily outscale Tyne either, and so they feel compelled to be going again, for these big plays. However, it always backfires. If you do not have the teleport advantage in the top lane, you cannot get more people into that single fight than the enemy. And so, it just backfires. It's a good old 1-2, roundhouse kick in the teeth from Tyne, and so they just run away with another objective and another kill.
And one thing we mentioned in the draft is whether the fact that Calling is Nick, I will have to hold on to that thought because Nick the Panda is getting sieged under the turret. Yelpran pops the stopwatch redemption coming through. Nick the Panda does not get it, but the trigger seed still saves him. The instant hold with blow by Lazy Panda. Rosa trying to flash forward. Can he get the kill? Yes, he can. He goes dominating. However, Lazy Panda now looking to get him back. Hekatos burns the heal, and actually Rosa might not die. He will in the end. That is the shutdown going into Lazy Panda's pocket. And now Hekatos, he's trying to run away. Holberg joins the fray in that bottom lane, flashing forward. Does not connect with that Lucent Singularity. Does he have the damage with the auto attack? He should though. Hekatos trying to cut him back. And Gorage gets the kill in the end.
That is just so tragic. Holberg, I am so sorry, my man. I'm so sorry that we had to see that. Hekatos, he just healed for more than Lux was able to deal with those auto attacks. So it's not in the end going into the pockets of Holberg, but rather Gorage. Second kill for this Blitzcrank, and the mid laner for Caeli remains killless. Instead, just having to go back to mid lane and keep on farming ahead. A really fancy footwork then from Nick the Panda though, allowing them to even get those 2 kills in retribution. So, it's not all bad for Caeli right now.
Yeah, Tyne, they are sieging mid lane, and something that they wanted to say before is that the fact that Calling is missing could open up for other Tyne members to step up and carry the game, and I feel like Rose is doing that pretty well on the Sejuani. 6-1 and 0 has been involved in half the kills, which is pretty good in a fiesta like this.
Oh yeah.
And he has been pretty much everywhere just ganking.
Yeah, however, I have to criticize Tyne for one thing. We have always said that they're really good at snowballing leads. Something that they have been doing is finding kills. Gorage Hex flashes over the wall, not able to find anything. However, at Tyne they have actually given up a lot of kills, and so the gold lead that they had at 5k has just shrunk to a mere, well, 2.2 thousand. So that is not good if you're Tyne, and I suppose it shows you that, well, maybe Tyne, they aren't the super team, and perhaps if we're going to be seeing them in Division 1 next split, they actually are going to have to...
Yelpran finds a massive knockup under the turret. Now the rest of Tyne are looking to collapse. They will find the first kill onto Gorage and just take the tower. They cannot find anything more, but they should be content with how it turned out in the end. Now Yelpran, who's going to get taken down by a Lazy Panda.
Well, that was a really nice 2-shot barrage. However, in the end, it's Lazy Panda securing the kill. I'm going to call that a bit of a useless kill, given that you don't necessarily want to snowball your Ivern unless you're playing Bushwhack Ivern. Right now, Rubbleguff, he just gets chunked for half HP.
How does the Bushwhack Ivern work?
Okay, so, Bushwhack Ivern, you take Nashor's Tooth, You build him full AP and attack speed, you max your W, and you just stay the entirety of your game in the enemy jungle, and you essentially become a Viet Cong soldier. That is the Bushwhack Ivern. It's a KBV TV video if you guys want to check it out. It's a really fun one.
I feel like it's something I should have known about. But hey, I didn't, and I'm glad. I'm glad that I know now, because I have another pick to troll people with.
Hey, I'm the analyst. I help you out, right?
Hey, you can't go to Yemen. Feel smart.
No, I'm the brain, and you're the guy that locks in Twitch support. So, you know, the duties are dutifully
evenly split.
Yes, exactly. Right now, the state of the game still in favor for Tyne. They have been able to secure that mid lane turret, which opens up the map a lot more. It opens up the possibility for a Baron that will be spawning in just around 1 minute. So at that point, as soon as they manage to find one more of those engages that have been mostly provided by Rose, as well as Baron, of course, but I feel like Rose has been playing a really big role in this entire lineup of Tyne so far, despite not precisely playing with them on stream yet, I believe. So once again, if they get a pick after Baron is up, they do have that Mountain Drake, and that Baron is just going to melt like butter. So right now, Caeli have to be really careful, because a single misstep may cost them the game even quicker than it would normally.
The dragon has spawned. This is the Ocean Drake. Tyne are looking to contest our 5 minutes to kill the Archeo. The flash for the hook finds it back on Hector's. He has to flash away, and he should get away to safety.
Lazy Panda?
Lazy Panda, he also has to burn the flash in the end. The dragon is commenced. Resourcen doesn't have the TP quite yet. Will be there in 25 seconds, but by that time, Caeli might have just want to fight Gorange, fishing for another hook. Can he find it? He just gets down and taken down by Hector's instead. And now Tyne, they might be feeling themselves in this fight. Yelper looking good, biting from Holberg, as well as the Trujan Barrage to just chunk down the members of Tyne. The dragon is on 2000 HP. Resourcen is making his way down, and it will be stolen. Lazy Panda coming in from downtown. However, the fight is now breaking out. Hunike is taken out by Yelper, and Lazy Panda has to flash away. The final spark will be the final one for Rose. Hekatos is gonna get run down by Lazy Panda, who then gets killed by Ravelgaff. Now Holberg looking to kite away, has to burn the flash over the wall. I don't even know what is going on in this fight.
Was that League of Legends? That
yes!
We just saw? What the hell was that? So, let's run through what the hell just happened. In the beginning, Gorange, he ran it down. He ran it down river, you know, just he wanted to find an engage after being unsuccessful in the first one. He saw that Resourcen is in the top lane and that he isn't going to be able to join the fight immediately, so he tried to get an engage. However, in the end, it backfired against him, and so he immediately inted a kill away. After that, Tyne, they commenced the Drake, but somehow they managed to get caught out by Lux, and so they die. Then it's Caeli again on their back foot. And in the end, a lot of flash is committed, and the Drake is stolen. Because, well, Tyne, they didn't pull it out of the dragon pit, and so it was really easy for Lazy Panda to get into the pit, even despite him not having flash, and just smite it away. A lot of misplays from both sides, really.
Now Yelper, he is hooked, teleport is committed. That should be Nick the Panda joining in the fray. Yelper taken out. Gorange picks up the kill, however, those are the support traded. A double shockwave from Raboka will get down Hunike and Holberg. They both will fall, and now that should be the Baron call for Tyne.
It'll definitely be the Baron call, of course. Lazy Panda is still up. He can maybe try to go find something. Raboka chunked for half HP by the Ezreal.
Yeah, Nick the Panda has got the double, the 2-item power spike on Ezreal, something that I feel like is probably the biggest caster buzzword when it comes to spikes. Obviously, after Corki Triforce, I think Ezreal to the double item is the next one up there. Yeah, I would agree, especially since you do have that mirror mana scaled up. It just deals so much damage. Of course, it forces actually Tyne off of that Baron, which is going to make sure that, well, Caeli, they're going to be able to breathe out for a bit longer. The problem is they still have only those tier 2 turrets left. Oh, sorry, tier 1 turrets. So right now, they still have to work on that vision control. They do have that Scuttle Crab in that top side river. However, that is going to be expiring shortly. They also have... They had 2 control wards in the Pixel Brush in the bot lane, so, you know, that was also nice. But right now,
The vision predominantly controlled by Tyne. I perhaps would have liked them to be a bit more dutiful in this case, because you see a lot of these control words of Caeli sprinkled in between, and that just screams to me a bit, you know, a bit all over the place in the sense of making sure that they follow the steps if they want to close out a game quickly.
Yeah, now they will be clearing out all of that Baron vision. Gorange, though, he will be looking to keep contesting over and over and over again. And something that I thought I'd never see is an Orianna Magi for Rubbleguff, but the guy is 7-0 and 6, so I can't even blame him for that.
I am just, you know, there is a certain, how would you say that? I feel like this is just a philosophy at this point. Like, if you just get Magi's with 10 goddamn stacks on Orianna, I feel like you can make a religion out of it, because this barely doesn't happen and is largely fictional, but probably happened at one point in time, and that time is today, of course. Rubbleguff with a lot of damage on that Orianna, and it always feels like Hallberg either hits his combo and it's the Tyne's health bar that go poof with a double whammy, or it's the Rubbleguff that does the same and just runs over Caeli. So these mid laners are really influential in so many of these fights that we have seen and are going to be seeing in the upcoming future.
Alright, Kerm, I think the question that everyone wants answered, one of the most important questions this game. Does Rubbleguff hit 25 stacks at one point?
I have a better question.
Okay.
Will Gorange run it down next team fight?
No, he will hit the Mad Life hook onto Rubbleguff and it will burst him down before he can do anything.
I'm taking you up on... You know what? I'm taking you up on that call. Okay.
Okay, see. I believe in Gorange. Now he does not connect it. And he is going to be taken down. But as Rubbleguff is legendary, Hecate picks up the kill onto Lazy Panda. That is now 2 for Tyne.
Yeah, well, I suppose that answers my question. And I'm the one winning, of course, now. Tyne, they can go for that Baron. They do have the perfect vision, so Caeli are not going to be knowing if it's going to be commenced. However, the top wave is coming in. Resourcen is also in that mid lane, just pushing down that tier 2 turret. However, Caeli, they're able to actually clear this wave out pretty damn quickly, and so the decision of Tyne to go for this turret may have been a bit questionable at best.
Resourcen is though sitting in that middle lane, should be able to take the care of that turret. Let's get it down in the end. The Baron is still alive, and Tyne, they are now sweeping all of the vision. They might just go for a reset and commit into the Baron, or they could just go straight away. I feel like they want to spend all their gold.
Yeah, at this point, since Lazy Panda is up, you sort of don't want to be going for that steal. I mean, for that 50-50 Baron, they could have gone for it immediately after they got the fight, but they instead wanted to secure that tier 2 turret in the mid lane, which I suppose is okay. You know, it's still a good victory for them because it does allow you to set up even deeper vision in so many sectors of that jungle. They're instead now going to be rotating over for that Ocean Drake. Not as high on priority list as I perhaps would want it, but still it's an objective nonetheless that they can play around.
This time I don't think it's gonna get stolen by the Lazy Panda. He isn't even anywhere close. That will be the third elemental dragon now going in favor of Tyne. And this game is drawing out pretty long by Tyne standards. And Rubbleguff, he isn't even doing badly. He is taking Coing's place pretty rightfully. He might have not smashed Hallberg in lane. He doesn't have maybe insane CS needs, but he is still doing a lot of work in those team fights.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. It's definitely not individual misplays right now that are holding Tyne back. It's the fact that they're not perhaps playing around the map as well as I would like them to. Whenever I mention that they could be going for that Baron to secure it safely, whenever I mention that they do not have the good enough vision, that all of these little mistakes that they make, they do mount up. And so if we're going to be going into playoffs, I feel like they should sort of iron them out.
Yeah, Hunike is gonna get solo killed by Resourcen in that bot lane. The Noxian Guillotine pretty much finishes him off together with those hammered stacks. And Rose pops the Righteous Glory. He might be looking for some sort of engage. You know, seeing a Righteous Glory on a Sejuani kinda makes me happy because of how strong that engage is, but then it's not something that you see.
I mean, it should make you happy because it just means that that team wants to go in, and that means team fights, and that means that you get to scream. So, hey, it all works out in the end. And now, Yelperin gets caught out. However, nothing that can beat this Alistair down right now.
Yeah, Yelperin, a lot of tankiness as well with that with that unbreakable will, and the Baron is now going to be started by Tyne. We'll have to see if the side of Caeli can even contest that. You've got a final spark, the two-shot barrage is available, but this is falling very fast. And now Gorange, he tries to contest, but he instead is caught out.
Poor Gorange.
Yeah, there is nothing he can do. Hecatus picks up his killing spree kill.
And well, Gorange tries to secure the vision so they at least know if it is actually happening. However, in the end, he is just violently murdered by the members of Tyne. And so right now, it's a 5-man Baron buff for Tyne. They're pressuring this top wave. They have resource and moving into that mid lane. That is going to be a lot of turrets, perhaps even inhibitors taken, because now it is a 5v4. Sure, it's without Gorange, but, you know, nonetheless.
Yeah, Holberg pops down the final spark now. That is the route onto Yelpren. And he takes a bit of damage. The base is broken, but the inhibitor still stands for Caeli, and they have got some wave clear. It is not the greatest in the world that there is, but they might be able to hold on for a while if they play their cards well.
It can technically work out. They do have a lot of wave clear on that Ezreal, as well as Lux. These Baron buffed minions sort of, you know, work against that a whole lot. However, they can still try to secure themselves a few more minutes in this game. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but they don't necessarily outscale in the case when playing against Tyne with this composition. What they can do is get more of these item spikes and then try to just poke the enemy out. They do have Lux, they do have Ezreal, they do have Jace. Both of them are currently sitting at 2 items, whereas most of the members on Tyne are currently sitting on 3. Well, I say most, but I just look at Hecatos, who's actually sitting on 4. So, you know.
Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of damage on this Caeli right now. I feel like Caeli, they are getting to a point where I'm not even sure what they will be exactly looking at, because teamfights, they are screwed. Hecatus will be able to pretty much just free hit them, and the only plausible way for them to win this game is to find a big pick.
Well, they can either look for a pick with Gorange, or, you know, they can just look to poke. Again, I'm going to mention that they have a really good poke composition, as you can see that Hecatos is almost bursted down immediately. They're still trying to find him with those ultimates, you know? You have to give that to them. Because now there may be a fight happening in this bot lane as Caeli, they're moving around as 5-man. Not sure if that is perhaps the best idea right now, given that you have so much engage on time, but we'll see if they are engaged upon.
Yeah, the Baron buffed cannons, they are going to do a lot of work on that turret. However, you've got the long range. That is not the binding, finding it's marked on the Hecatus. So a 2-man shockwave, think the man is called. However, the glacial prison goes wide. Gorange on that backline, he's looking for anything, but all he will find is a flash over the wall as he escapes. That is the now final spark. Hecatus is on the rampage as he finds Holberg through those minion waves, knocks in Guillotine to finish off Hunike. And now that will be the body inhibitor for Tyne. They've got the 2 kills. The Panda looking to kite back, find the damage necessary. Lazy Panda, Gorange, and the Panda, can they save this game? Gorange is gonna get knocked out. That is the second Nexus turret finally falling down, and the Blitzcrank falls shortly after the Nexus itself is exposed. And Caeli, they're just trying to stop them. Hecatus is unstoppable though, and Tyne will take the game 1.
Ooh, I have to say, not the cleanest game that we have seen from Tyne. Definitely a lot of missteps and mistakes that we have seen. However, in the end, it once again is the formula that I set out for them in the bit of a pre-show that we had. Tyne, they got what they wanted. They got a solid jungler that was unimpeded by the enemy one. They got a mid laner that managed to get ahead or go even. They got a bot lane that was able to just roam around the map and affected a whole lot. And as a plus, you had this entire lineup just running into you and giving you kills when they were running a strong poke composition that has really weak team fighting because they do not have any front line. And so, Tyne, they had their cards, and they got, like, if you were playing cards right, and imagine that the opponent that you're playing against is like just giving you every single good one that you want. Like, he just looked at your hand and said, okay, which one you want? And, you know, he just handed you everything, like 4 aces or something, I don't know. And so, right now, Caeli, they have to sort of iron out their draft. They have to realize what they actually want to do. Perhaps not play a poke comp, because clearly they have had a lot of differing opinions on what the hell a poke comp is. A quick side note, poke comp does not mean engage, you know? Just feel like throwing it out there in case Caeli were interested. And so let's see if they're going to be able to come back in the second game, perhaps.
So grab your snacks, do not touch the browser because we will be back after the break.
Do not touch that browser. What the hell is that?
Don't question my finishes.
All right, see you in a bit.
Hello and welcome back everyone. After the break, we are just a few minutes away from going into the game 2 after what has been a very crazy game 1, I think is the way to put it.
How would you actually define crazy in this case?
Okay.
Would you define it as crazy that you go to a psychiatric ward, or crazy as in a lot of stuff happened?
So,
I dare argue mixture.
okay, I think I would define crazy in 2 different ways. One type of crazy is the positive type of crazy, where you have both of the teams trading blows and being so close that you don't know who wins until last moment. And then there's the type of crazy that this game was, which is that Tyne were winning throughout the whole game, but you still weren't sure what exactly was happening.
Yeah, and so you just felt your brain cells slowly just leaving your body. Yes, I have to agree with you there. No, of course, to sum up the game 1 really quickly for those of you who have perhaps just joined us, Tyne, they have managed to take away the game 1 after a lot of missteps and Caeli not really playing out their composition properly. So that is something that we're going to be watching in this upcoming draft that we're going to be going into in just a couple of minutes, I believe. I'm still looking forward to seeing Caeli alter their draft a lot, because if they lock in themselves a poke composition, it's going to be a bit more difficult for them to realize what they want to do, rather than just change the picks and focus on something that they're good at, something that they know how to play, which is possibly that teamfighting composition. You know, locking yourself the standard few frontliners, locking yourself those few standard carries, get Nick the Panda on something that can carry you out of the game, Lazy Panda on something that can set up those leads, and boom, maybe we can see an entirely new team play against Tyne in this second and possibly third game.
Maybe, however, you know, there's also another theory. Caeli are pretty much locked in that 4th spot right now after they lost to Tyne. They would really need the stars to align to jump up to that 3rd spot, and even then they're still playing in the quarterfinals. And I got a message from someone on Caeli, who I'm not gonna exactly disclose who that is that they're gonna play for fun this game. So maybe we're gonna see something more Fiesta-like.
Wait, did he say just the second one or the first one? Because I think that it was the first one as well, kind of. But, you know, we'll have to see. Once again, a lot of things that can change in this second game. I'm still looking at someone that was my biggest question mark in the beginning for Caeli, and that was Unikay. So I'm still looking forward to seeing how he performs, because right now he wasn't really able to find any leads in lane, and the only way that he was even in CS was that he managed to get resource into teleport in the bot lane, and then he was forced to expend teleport himself to go into the lane himself when it was a matchup that was very easy for him to go even in. So perhaps we should be expecting Unikay to do a lot more pressure in this game, and that may just open up a lot more possibilities for Caeli to bounce back into the series.
Alright, then we have entered the draft phase. So far the bans are the same, although only one of them is locked in, so not that much to compare against. But clearly they will be just hover banning the Vladimir. If they decide to go for it, then it is exactly the same as in the first half. So far, neither of these teams really making any adjustments. They're like, you know what, let's just stick to what happened in the first game because it worked for Tyne. You could argue maybe it worked for Caeli, maybe it didn't, but, well, I mean, to be honest, that was one of the closest Tyne games I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it actually was. However, it wasn't because Caeli were really doing anything spectacular. It was mostly because of Tyne misstepping a lot. Granted, Caeli were able to pick up a lot of these engages, and they were able to utilize their poke potential to what I'm going to say is around 30 or 40%. In the end, it was Holberg sort of carrying Caeli above the water, and he was able to inflict a lot of damage upon the lines of Tyne. And so perhaps if he is still on that mage pick, if that luck still goes through for him, maybe he can try to set up this game to look vastly different to the first one. Don't lock in Blitzcrank.
Lock in Blitzcrank.
No.
Yes.
No, Goran.
I want to see more.
Goran, you maniac. No. I mean, okay.
Well, the bans aren't over yet. We see a Lee Sin now banned away by Caeli.
Interesting. However, Tyne, yeah, that Sejuani is just open for them. Once again, Rose had an amazing game on it. So many of those kills came through his own initiative. It was disgusting to see him just jump in every single time and get those perfect Glacial Prisons, perfect knockups, perfect stunts. He had an amazing game on it, and I feel like I didn't mention it enough. So, apologies. He was a really, really amazing on that Sejuani. Goes through for him once again, and now Caeli, they look in the trundle. I'm actually really glad to see that.
Yeah, Lazy Panda, I believe he played it against Lyra, if I'm not mistaken, or he has played it lately. And Trundle, well, against Sejuani, it does work pretty nicely.
Oh yeah, however, this is where the sort of the style of the jungler clashes with his pick, because Lazy Panda, as his name would suggest, he doesn't really do a whole lot in the early game, and especially in that invading department. So, what I'm going to be looking at is his pathing. Does he want to be aggressive? Quick answer, yes, he wants to be aggressive. But can he be aggressive? That is the question. As Leona is locked in, once again, Caeli want to secure themselves a strong bot lane. This is a good step in the right direction. Better than Blitzcrank, I'm going to say. And so right now, something like Illusion is open, and given that Vayne is likely going to be paired up with a safe support, because else you wouldn't be really able to roam. Of course, Alistar is still available, so that can be something that the opponent can go for, but I do believe that there is a potential for Caeli to go for a strong bot lane to accumulate these advantages.
Now Thresh as well will be the support for Vayne, which is still pretty interesting considering that he most of the time wants to go for those plays, but he's also a pretty good pick in denying those Leona engages, so I think it makes some sense. Now, do Caeli want to pick themselves that AD carry sounding like Lucian, you said, or maybe Jinx?
Oh,
that is
no.
not a good sound.
No, that is not a good sound, no. So I was hoping to see something aggressive, something like Ezreal, something like Lucian is open for Nick the Panther to go for. I suppose he may be not trusting himself that much. Of course, there is some synergy with those Jinx traps as well as with the chain CC that Leona offers. However, with this, Caeli are going to be a bit unable to accumulate these leads that I mentioned on their own. Of course, something that we saw happening in the first game was that Hekatos was often left alone in lane, and at that point, yes, it was all about Gorange and Nick the Panther. They were always able to assess the situation pretty well and then just go in for the kill. Of course, it backfired once, but in the end, they were still proactive, and that is what counts. I'm still looking forward to seeing them try to win this lane. Of course, Jinx can have the range advantage over Vayne if she just pokes with those empowered rockets. So this bot, it can sway to Caeli's favor much better than the last one.
Yeah, now also Jinx, you know, I think you already touched on that. She can also have this more late game impact rather than something like an Ezreal, which could struggle against many of those compositions and, you know, actually finding those mystic shots, which I think Nick the Panda did a pretty good job last game. However, well, it wasn't really enough. Now, second phase of the bans is mid lane focus. Seems to be the name of the game. Orianna, Ahri, Syndra taken off the board. Would not be surprised to see Tyne ban something like Lux or maybe some another mid laner, and that will restrict both Rubel and Holberg in what they want to play.
Yeah, Silence actually now being hovered. Interesting, I do not believe that we have seen Caeli play it yet, and so Tyne, they just go against it. They say, well, it's a good pick, but perhaps not in this league. Perhaps they just want to ban something of comfort out of the hands of Caeli. They choose the Jace, which of course Unique plays last time around, once again restricting his champion pool by quite a bit by taking away that cannon and Jace. Aurelion Sol goes through.
That's interesting. I don't believe I have seen Holberg play this champion.
Yeah, definitely on Holberg. I do believe that we have seen it once or twice in Serenity Gaming, and I actually...
Topaz face hurt, I think. That was the last time we seen it?
Was
yes?
it?
Last time. Did we see it any other time?
I'm not sure. Possibly we have. Of course, they want to play around the different solo lanes. However, I really like this LeBlanc pick because it can actually match Aurelion Sol in the terms of clearing out the wave and assuming that kill pressure, especially past level 6, because Aurelion Sol isn't precisely known for his lane bullying. Of course, in good matchups, he can make sure that the opponent is pushed up under his turret, but regardless of that, he just wants to push out the wave and as soon as he can, roam over to another lane and get a few kills there. So what I'm looking at is this last pick. Are Caeli going to lock in themselves something aggressive into this Olaf, arguably one of the best level 1s in the entire game? Do they want to go for something early game focused as well? Remember, Cannon, Jace, taken off the board. What is Unique going to pick for himself?
It's a Scion.
It's a Scion.
No, it's a Fiora! Let's go!
Woo! Ooh, okay. Jesus Christ, Unica, you played with my heartstrings there for a bit. Olaf Fiora.
That is a matchup that how does it go? I've not seen it that many times.
Olaf has one of the best early games in the entire game. If you always recall how Olaf plays the game, it's he is good, he is better because you cannot kill him,
and he's the best.
And then all of a sudden he dies, right?
Okay.
That's how it goes in the entirety of the game. He really falls off late game, whereas Fiora scales. So they have pretty much what's it called? Polar opposite of power spikes. Fiora, she wants to just split push. She doesn't want to fight. Olaf, he loves to go in. He loves to get those axes. He loves to run you down. And Fiora, she cannot precisely really counter anything with that riposte. How would you say it? Regardless.
Yeah,
the W.
something like this.
Yeah, with the W, she can block the slow, but she still roots herself in place, and that opens up Olaf to just once again run her down. So there is going to be a lot of pressure being accumulated from Tyne in that top lane, because Resorsen, so far, he has shown us that he is a really dominant laner, and with this pick, we can maybe expect for him to be even more of an alpha male in this lane.
Yeah, now I'm also thinking, I mean, I hope it's an Olaf top lane, because I'm thinking it could possibly be Sejuani, but then that is my reaction. That was my inner voice whenever I've got that thought.
Yeah, good.
Well,
yeah, good.
Yeah,
it's locked in the client. Yeah,
yes,
no worries, fellas. Of course, yeah, you're right. It could have been Sejuani top lane. We have seen it be played. Who was it? Not Lyra. I don't know why I immediately went to that.
Wasn't it Hydra in Division 1? No.
Yeah, that sounds okay.
So,
yeah. That sounds like it. Yeah, regardless, it was played once, but we're not going to be seeing it today. Instead, we're going to be seeing the typical matchup, Sejuani into Trundle. Of course, you mentioned that it could have been Sejuani top lane, and I would actually understand it if you wanted that Sejuani to avoid this Trundle. However, the problem is, in the bot lane, they're not going to have too much pressure. They are going to have a pushing wave because they're going to have this strong bot lane in the sense of Jinx and Leona. So that is somewhere where Rose can go. But Lazy Panda, he won't have enough pressure in that top lane. I mentioned that Fiora is going to just be having none of it. Or well, all of it, rather, should I say. She's going to be pushed up on her turret constantly, and so it doesn't precisely open the map a whole lot for Trundle, especially because in that mid lane, I mentioned that LeBlanc is going to be able to clear out the wave just as effectively as Aurelion Sol, and so it doesn't open up too many opportunities for Lazy Panda to counter jungle. So Rose, he doesn't have to go to the top lane, he can just stay in the jungle, farm up, and become that scary engager that he was in that first game.
Also, talking about LeBlanc into Aurelion Sol, LeBlanc can look to get the kills. You are playing an assassin against something that is fairly mobile, unless we will see Holberg go for something like a cleanse or any sort of defenses. Then combine that as well with the Sejuani. Rose had a really great game last game, and Holberg, he could be in some fair share of trouble.
Yeah, he could be seeing a whole world of hurt when playing against Rubelgov today. Well, in the second game, of course. The sort of, I'm not going to say hidden interaction, the fun interaction between LeBlanc and Aurelion Sol, that after level 6, Aurelion Sol will just boop you away. The problem is that LeBlanc goes, haha, here's my Yu-Gi-Oh card, I reverse what you did and jump in there once again with the second proc of that ultimate. So, you know, Aurelion Sol cannot really easily escape. What we're seeing in the client right now is him taking Ignite.
He still has time to change it.
He does have the time, but it would be really ballsy of him to take it, because that would mean that he can go for that kill pressure onto LeBlanc. That would mean that Lazy Panda wants to play predominantly through his mid lane, which is a questionable decision, I have to say. It's possible, but I would expect Lazy Panda to either try to alleviate some of the pressure in that top lane, because, well, Unica is going to be having a really hard time, or just go into the bot lane and try to snowball from there. So, not really sure if this Ignite choice is going to pay off. Perhaps it will. Perhaps in that niche situation where he pushes LeBlanc in the first couple of levels under her turret, and he dives her, and he murders her, you know, just spits in her face with those auto attacks. There is a possibility. there is an alternate universe for everything, perhaps even Twitch supports, and perhaps for Ignite on Aurelion Sol and LeBlanc.
Yeah, you know, I want to really see Holberg maybe instead of igniting, actually move down. You talked about this bot lane a lot, and you have Gorange on Leona. With that potential setup, if Nick the Panda can get some of those kills and actually get his scaling before Hecates, then Caeli have a decent chance moving into this later stages of the game. I just don't want to see Time get ahead anywhere, which will be hard. It is near impossible, and if anything we learn from, if we learn anything from watching Time, it is that they will get ahead.
Yeah, so far from what we've seen anyway. You mentioned that there is going to be that strong bot lane for Caeli in the case of Leona and Jinx, and that is certainly the case. However, it's sort of going to be nullified by this Thresh pick. Thresh actually has a lot of early game damage on his own, surprisingly enough. So together with that Vayne, they're going to be still able to chain CC and hold their own in this bot lane. It's not going to be anywhere as strong as Leona Jinx, but there's still the possibility. You mentioned that the scaling for Caeli can come online if they get those first early couple of kills. Yes, however, for that, they would still need that ASOL in that bot lane. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but LeBlanc can roam really effectively as well. So as soon as you see Aurelion Sol moving away from that mid lane, well, expect Rubleguff to either match him in the terms of roaming, because their roaming speed is a bit better for Aurelion Sol, but not by too much, and Tyne are going to be pushed in under their turret regardless. So maybe expect Rubleguff to go into the top lane and try to bully out Unike once again. Again, we'll have to see where the pressure is going to lie for both of these teams as we move into the game in about 1 minute after the spectator delay runs out.
Yeah, spectator delay is still there, so we have more time. And you talked a lot in depth about Holberg, Rubleguff, how those champions will work. I just want to tie it into the last game. We saw Rubleguff get a mid lane lead in terms of CS, and then utilize it, and then in terms of CS in the beginning, and then utilize it to roam down in the bot lane. It could have been thanks to those champions and probably the early game trades going in favor of Time.
You mean that one flash?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay. I see where I understand. I agree.
Yeah, and the point is that Rubleguff, he has shown that he can match Holberg well in the mid lane and get the better of him. Now, I want to see Holberg actually defy that and say, you know what, game 1 doesn't matter. I can beat Rubleguff in lane, get this lane shoving in, roam on that Aurelion Sol, because quite frankly, if you don't do that, then, well, you're kind of like half of a champion.
Yeah, it's that not roaming on Aurelion Sol is like engaging on a poke composition. You know, just completely random example. I could not think of a single game where that would happen.
Yes.
Regardless, yes. To elaborate a bit on that, the thing with Aurelion Sol is that he doesn't necessarily have to get himself ahead in the lane. That is where his biggest strength is. He can act just as this big CC bot. Of course, getting himself that couple of kills and that CS lead can help him out a lot, but I still don't think that it warrants Trundle to be playing around him a lot. And you mentioned that it is going to be Holberg against Rubleguff that is going to be playing out into our hands with the narrative cards, right? Just sprinkling them all over the place. But Holberg, he can be this big catalyst for Caeli to try to sway this game into their hands, into their favor, because you may be ahead, but if you're going to be fighting a 2v3 or a 3v4, it's likely always going to go in the way of the guys that have more members. So yeah, there is a really nice possibility for Caeli to do something.
You know, you talked about those narrative cards. Let me whip out an old friend of ours that we used a lot in the week 1 early on in November. Let's go for the momentum. I was talking about momentum.
Damn.
Let's go. So the point is, Caeli, they lost their 2 previous best of 3s, and they have been looking to, well, they have been looking shaky. This is their last match before playoffs, and this is where it ties into playoffs. If they can get a good showing against Tyne, even if they lose this game, then it could give them enough confidence to sweep past those quarterfinals, especially at that they will very, very likely. I don't think there is any plausible scenario where they don't play Crater, and they lost against Crater in the split. So Caeli, they need to build up this momentum, preferably in this game, and come in next week very strong.
And it's not something that we focus a lot on, but I have to agree, the mentality of these teams is a really big factor in how you actually play the game. So if Caeli manages to take at least one game away from Tyne today, it will be a big mood swing because arguably Tyne have been the best team in the second division so far. So getting that win on the board would be great for them, making sure that they can play aggressive and as they would like against this Crater team. Of course, playoffs just around the corner, so next week we're going to be happy to invite you guys over to the Twitch once again. That's the terrible sentence.
All runners if you actually have the tickets for the LAN.
Exactly.
That will be only the weekend though, for the semi-finals and the finals. So you know, if you didn't check it out, www.serenitygaming.org or what is the?
Yes, it's org.
It's org. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah.
As we were in the game, it was paused and I believe the pause has ended right now. So we will be loading into the Rift. Let us know, who do you think is going to win this game? Will Caeli be the first team to ever destroy Tyne's Nexus, or will Tyne just not lose a single played game in this regular season?
Well, I mean, does FF technically count as losing your Nexus?
No, that's why I made it very specific. So for those of you who don't know, during the weekend, Tyne were late to their match against Wolfskyland, so had to FF the first game, and then they went on to win the series 2-1.
Oh, look at Tyne invading right now.
Yeah, Tyne, they are looking for that invade. They've got Yelperin with those hooks, and that is the flash forward forced as well from Nick the Panda. Nice invade from Tyne.
Yeah, once again, something that they do almost every single game. A bit surprising that Caeli were not prepared for it, but nevertheless, nothing comes from it except for the lack of flash on now the flashless AD carry. Returning to the point, if you cut, or if a tree falls in a forest and nobody hears it, does it really fall? I feel like that's pretty much the case with this. Regardless, yes, and Tyne haven't fallen yet, so maybe it can be Caeli taking them down, these big behemoths of a team. Not off to a good start with now lacking a flash on that Jinx if she ever is locked down by this CC from Thresh, and we all know how annoying Thresh can be in this regard. Well, it can be real difficult for her to run away because those traps don't first of all come online until around level 3, and even after they do, it's still difficult for you to do anything, as in the mid lane Holberg is already almost completely out of mana because he just wanted to get that shove in. Of course, he has corrupting pot, so it's not going to be affecting her too much. Or him. No, it's not her.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's good. At least he is pushing in Rubel, which should allow him to look for some roams. As Rose, he is very aggressive in that jungle. He takes the blast cone back as he spotted Lazy Panda on those wolves, so invade not quite completed in that jungle as Rubel. He comes in for that trade and he chunks down Holberg.
Really good to see the aggression coming from Tyne's side. I mentioned that Trundle into Sejuani is a really good matchup for the Trundle, so I'm a bit surprised to see Rose actually invading himself. However, a lot of confidence now shown on the jungler of Tyne, showing that, well, perhaps he is the dominant alpha woman in this case, if we want to go by champions. So really important that we see him stomping his foot on the ground and accelerating the tempo. Of course, in the mid lane, Holberg is completely out of corrupting pots as Rubblegov just goes in for one more trade. And I feel like Holberg is going to be soon forced to back already. Because he doesn't have the teleport, it's just going to mean a lot of lead lost in the mid lane.
Yeah, this is one of those problems with the Ignite. If you find yourself taking disadvantageous trade against Rubel, then, well, you don't really have that much impact. And if you don't have impact on Aurelion Sol, then what really are you going to do?
Exactly. However, he does level 6, so I was perhaps hoping him to turn this into some cheesy situation and go bot lane. However, that's not going to be the case. Instead, he picks up that Dark Seal. Interesting. However, I'm not at all surprised given that he has been losing the trades by quite a bit. As I say that, another trade comes through and he's chunked to half HP already, may even be more.
Yeah, Rumblecraft has got the Ignite. However, look at Lazy Panda. That is the Zenith play from Gorange. He finds the stun as well. Hectus flashes out, condemn into the wall. Gorange will not survive this. The first blood, thanks to that Tara shot, goes in for Yelper. Now, mid laners are also trading Ignite for Flash and Ignite of Rubel as he has to get out of that turret. But the first kill of the game goes over to Tyne.
And such a crucial kill off as well on the bot lane. I mentioned that Caeli are likely going to be focusing around that bot. And they do indeed. They do come in to get a kill. But Tyne, they just turn it around immediately. Again, so much chain CC on this Thresh. He just locks the enemies down under his turret. And the turrets now deal an insane amount of damage. And so they just die. They pop like balloons with water in them. Just splashing the Summoner's Rift. Except not with water,
No, we're not
but with
going.
blood.
No. Okay.
You couldn't stop me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going with
Okay. Yeah. You were already too far committed, just like
Yes.
Gorange into that play in the ball lane. There was no retreat. You know.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that
Yeah.
one.
Taking a quick look at the CSs, Holberg is managing to break a pretty nice lead in that middle lane, and Resourcen is just continually shoving in Hunike under that tower. So far, it about equalizes out with that kill. It still pays dividends for Tynas. They find a small lead of about 700 gold by 5 minutes.
Yeah, however, that kill gold isn't actually sitting on Hekatos, it still is on Hilperin. So that isn't the biggest trouble that Caeli are going to be facing. They still have the potential in Aurelion Sol. They can still utilize him to run over to either of these lanes. Top lane is doing really goddamn well, as I predicted it. Top lane is going actually not that bad, because, well, that one kill was into the way. Now, Rose did get spotted out by the ward in that Tribrush, so nothing happens from that play, and all things just calm down for a bit, you know? You have to take in these serene moments.
Yeah, that's why we're called the Serenity Gaming. I think that's the second time I've explained this joke.
I really was hoping that you would not explain it, but goddamn Kachka, if you want to, then sure, go for it.
Yes.
So, all over the map, right now things are pretty peaceful, once again. Holberg is looking to roam. He does have that level 6 half mana up available for him. He didn't even utilize that Comet of Legend right now. He can move into either of the side lanes. Hasn't done it so far, and right now that dynamic that I mentioned is being prevalent right now, which is him just pushing out the mid wave and just running away, roaming around, creating this amount of pressure that Caeli sort of lacked in the first game. Really glad to see that it's at least coming through, if not in kills, then in just in just the raw stats. I turned Irish for a second there, I think.
I think it's fine. We respect all accents right here. I mean, just throw back to me 4 months ago. I mean, my accent, it didn't improve that much, but hey, it's slightly better.
Yeah, it didn't. What do you mean?
No. Yeah. Anyways, Hunike is gonna take a bit of damage from those undertows. He does manage to stay safe under that tower. The thing is that Resourcen, he's got a lot of damage, and Hunike needs to be careful at all times. But now Lazy Panda could be potentially looking for a gank. Ragnarok is available. That is the grand challenge for Hunike. He has to run under his star and flash forward. Where is the other two? Flashed away by Hunike! And Lazy Panda manages to get Caeli on the board.
Yeah, great escape there from Hunike, bravely running away as this duelist Fiora, managing to get that kill for Lazy Panda. Good gank from him on that, and Resourcen was way too far up. And while he did have he did not have any ward down, it was really easy for Lazy Panda to just come around, pop the pillar, forced Resourcen to go in, and in the end, it's a nice little early kill. So it offsets the balance quite a bit and makes sure that the gold lead is a bit lighter on the backs of Caeli. As Caeli, I didn't even mention this, but somehow Vayne managed to get a 10 CS lead. Interesting, I'm going to say.
I mean, a huge wave has just been shoved into Nick the Panda. However, he will not be able to equalize it, so still Hekatos being marginally ahead. So far, really, both of these teams need to do more in order to get more, get this leads, get some gold, get some things moving. One thing that is interesting is Rose's inventory has a Fiendish Codex in it.
Is he going AP Sejuani or that enchantment? Sorry, I'm not gonna let myself talk in the bot lane.
Yeah, Nick the Panda already forced to burn the flash. The ignite is things now. That is the lantern. Hekatos is delivered to pick up the kill now. Gorange, he might be looking for a re-engage, but Yelperin zones out Lazy Panda with that flay.
Holberg. Yeah, no.
He was looking for something, but couldn't just find it. Yeah. That is a kill for Hekatos.
Yeah, just your friendly space dragon coming around on an excursion. Regardless, unable to find anything there in the mid lane, though. Holberg gets caught out.
Has to burn the flash, Voice of Light to buy himself some more time. Rubbleguff still looking for that kill and will be able to get it with the 3-0 chains. Now Lazy Panda, he wants to get a retaliation kill. That is the ignite, however, the tower shot! Rubbleguff steps slightly too forward and Lazy Panda will be successful in getting a kill back for his team.
And Lazy Panda right now sitting on 2 of those kills for his team. The problem is, so many of those kills are still distributed evenly around the lineup of Titans, so they're going to be much better in their inventories, I'm going to say. So right now, the gold lane is still sitting in the pockets of Time. They do have those 3 kills, they have managed to secure that Air Drake, and while that isn't going to be precisely as important as something as a Mountain Drake, because obviously it's still going to be able to make sure that Rubbleguff is able to match Aurelian's Soul in these roams. Holberg, he hasn't been able to find that success, something that we mentioned that is going to be really crucial to the entire lineup of Caeli in this game if they want to find any sort of leads. He's been unable to do it so far, and this is going to make it only harder for him to be able to sustain his playstyle as Aurelian Soul.
Right, because what are you realistically going to do as you move into those team fights? Pretty much, you want to use your stars when you're expanded on Aurelian Soul, but then there is a Sejuani, there is a Thresh, there is an Olaf, as well as a LeBlanc, and it just will be difficult if you are Holberg to play these fights well. I still have hope in him, maybe he can make some plays later on in the game, but now that we are 11 minutes in and he's still 0-1-1, Caeli, well, they haven't done a lot.
They definitely haven't. Right now, Tyne are once again just so much more proactive. Of course, now in the bot lane once again.
Nick the Panda is just gonna get killed. Hecatus is the one to get the kill. Gorange has got the flash cover to condemn into the wall. And the hook as well. Well played by the side of Tyne. They should be getting that double kill. However, in that meantime, Holberg managed to get the kill onto the resource. And so Caeli, they are looking to trade back.
In the meantime, Holberg roamed over to top lane and got that kill, but that is a double kill heading into the pockets of Vayne. She's going to be able to get so much, finish this Blade of the Ruined King that she is building towards.
Oh, look at Hunike, he's taking so much damage! The Repose doesn't even do it, Rose gets the kill.
I am so sorry to Hunike. Both of these top laners have stepped out of line so much, and they paid with their lives for it, so not too surprising, of course. Now, Tyne's still sitting at that 4k gold lead. Rubbleguff in that bot side river may be getting caught out.
Well, I mean, who's actually getting caught out? Lazy Panda eats half, damage worth half his health. Now Goran jumps over that wall. He does find the Zenith Blade, but that's a weird interaction with that Dark Passage. Rubbleguff is ignited, so is Goran. Lazy Panda flashes forward with that pillar, trying to slow down the members of Tiny. The Panda cannot quite find those rockets, and no one is really getting an edge in this fight.
Yeah, so far both teams just peppering. They're just standing at the edge of that team fight, not really willing to commit anything into it. The health bars on Tyne not looking as healthy as they perhaps would want them to be, and so both teams are disengaged. Rubbleguff goes back into that mid lane. They're going to be able to just push in this wave, and well, that is going to be even more CS lacking now for Holberg. Resourcen once again in the top lane, trying to find these kills onto Hunike. So far hasn't been really able to do so. He's still trying to find something.
Yeah, those Undertows are doing quite a bit of damage. However, Hunike's got the Ninja Tabi, so he's largely able to negate most of that damage. However, Rubbleguff now also in the bot lane, switching back to the bot lane. Nick the Panda gets hooked up. That is the Solar Thrift connecting on to Hecatus, and the Star Search gets a double stun, but this is the NAF. Hecatus already gets the first kill, looking for Holberg. That's a double for the Vayne, as Hunike is getting dove up in the top lane. Gorange falls down for the triple, and Tyne, they are getting kills across the map.
And this is just so difficult to play against if you're Holberg. You have this Vayne, you do not know where she is, if she's invisible. Your Voice of Light doesn't do anything. You know, Hunike running for his life is able to escape with it unscathed, only with his ego being in tatters right now. 0-1, 20 CS behind. I am sorry. That was a clean rocket, you know?
It was very clean. Now that Rift Herald in the mid lane is gonna get the charge. Lazy Panda taking a lot of damage from Rose in the Winter's Wrath will finish the kill. The power of AP Sejuani, everyone.
You know what? Okay. That's what I'm going to say. Just okay. Of course, Mid lane turret taken down by the Sejuani, as you guys saw. The lovely rocket, in a cinematic fashion, taken out Resourcen. Really clean ultimate. However, the clean ultimate isn't able to save anyone on Caeli right now, as all of those tier 1 turrets just fall apart and are disintegrated by the lineup of Tyne. Really difficult for them to come back, especially now that they do not have something like that team composition. They really relied on roaming and getting these advantages, and they have been unable to find any. Right now, they sort of just have to rely on Nick the Panda to get a couple of those items. The problem is, he's facing a 6-0 Hekatos and a Vayne, yeah. So it's going to be really, really difficult for him.
Not only that, Tyne, they are, if you look at the Goldie, they are 7,500 gold ahead at 15 minutes. That is, you know what, part of me isn't surprised, because it's Tyne. But then, it is still a lot, doesn't matter who you are.
No, you have to be surprised, come on, even at that, even Tyne. Even with how dominant their games usually are, this is on a whole nother level, right? They're snowballing this game completely out of control. Now Gorange gets caught out by Yelperen.
And he's gonna probably die thanks to Rebel Guff. Now Holberg goes over the wall, he's gonna get connected to the wall. Looks like the fight isn't as one-sided as the Solar Throw is coming down on that backline. Hekatos is ignited, however Holberg will fall to Rebel. Hekatos is still alive, Lazy Panda gets the shutdown. That's already 2-for-1. Nick the Panda is gonna get jumped on by Rose, pretty much soloed by that Sejuani. And Rose is on a killing spree, Lazy Panda looking to run away. However, a flash forward, Winter's Wrath. Rose picks up the double as a 4-for-1 in favor of Tyne.
Well, Sejuani, ladies and gentlemen, I suppose. Of course, another fight going into the hands of Tyne. I suppose that at this, you should not be surprised. They have just so much damage right now. Hekatos just being able to kite around the lineup of Caeli for so goddamn long. Rubeguff still with a lot of damage, even though he hasn't even finished that lost.
Look at Hunike. He wants to get a kill. Resource and falls. In the end, that's a 1-for-1 trade.
Look at them. They're just laying together. That's adorable, you know? At least Hunike has someone to lay down with. Because I feel like after this game, he will be a bit in the dumps. Of course, we mentioned the momentum that Caeli wanted to build up with this game. So far, they aren't precisely doing what they wanted. Once again, they showed their clear winning scenarios. They showed themselves the prerequisites for a victory, but they haven't been able to really fulfill those promises because, well, they haven't got a lead in the bot lane, even though they tried. And I feel like, you know, in this case, at least they tried. Honestly, that's not me memeing them. That's not me, like, being sarcastic. They actually set up win conditions and they tried to fulfill them. So, good on Caeli. They gave themselves a clear goal. And while that's not working out in their best, you know, in the best form, they still had a good idea. It could have worked out. The problem is, Tyne is Tyne, and a one botched engage just turns the game completely around.
Now look at the jungle. Gorange is gonna get tagged by the death sentence. Stand up. There's the knock-up. Hekatos is gonna get the kill credit. Now 7-1 and 3 on the Vayne. Another death sentence. And that is Holberg caught out with the Glacial Prison. Rose is unstoppable. Nick the Panda looking to find those organs. Yelperen cannot find the third hook in a row. The Super Mega Death Rocket does not find its mark onto the Thresh. And Tyne, they will be looking to get that tier 2 in the middle lane. Rubel doesn't find the ethereal chains. Flash forward from Yelperen. He gets another hook onto Lazy Panda. This is another kill. Condemn Nick the Panda into that inhibitor, and I feel like Tyne at this point, they're just looking to close this game out as soon as they can.
Yeah, so many great engages from Yelperen there. So many death sentences hitting and making sure that they can just blow up Caeli. Mid lane inhibitor will be taken, as well as that tier 2 turret in that bot lane by Resourcen. Tyne, they may be collapsed upon by Caeli here, in fact, but no, Rubu just jumps away, and Tyne, they get a clean disengage.
They do. The mid lane inhibitor is down. The Baron isn't even alive yet. There's little that Tyne can actually do with the lead that they have for the next 1.5 minutes. They can probably reset. They can probably buy even more items. Let's actually take a look at what they have. You have double items on Vayne. You've got an AP Sejuani sitting with now a Rhyalized Crystal Scepter. Rubel will be slowly looking towards more items. Currently only that Luden's Echo and some components for what I believe might be a Morello Nomicon. And on the other side, Caeli, they're trying. They've got one item on Nick the Panda and Holberg.
They're trying. I love that summary. Honestly, it does feel like that for Caeli right now, which is a bit sad. But once again, they knew what they wanted to do, but they were unable to really execute on it. And I feel like that's at least, you know, half the victory, you know, finding what you want to do. Right now, Caeli, the only saving grace that they can find is somehow making sure that Tyne misplay and give a couple of kills, but with how Resourcen is running Hunike down, maybe a bit more difficult.
The grand challenge has been you should have a few more undertows. Well, actually, Hunike flashing away, Resourcen gets the kill. It's yet another 1-for-1.
However, Hunike, he almost pulled another outplay off. Of course, with that turret, but nonetheless, Resourcen still has way too much damage. Goran jumps into 3 people here.
Goran is looking for an engage, does not find the solar flow. Now Hector's on that backline flashing for it. Holberg is gonna die. Groze is gone. Like that is now 3 members of Caeli dead. And Tyne, they are looking to break the base even further. Yopen will be fishing for that. Who good flash away from Nick the Panda, away from that glacial prison. Tyne, they will just take that tier to top lane and probably converge onto the second inhibitor tower in the top.
And right now, what I'm seeing from Tyne is more controlled. Of course, they do have an even bigger lead than they had in the first one. But I'm seeing them, you know, get that vision, get those waves, play this controlled. Ilperin dies, almost. Gets chunked for half HP, hooks a minion. Teleport comes through, and that's a turret.
The top lane turret is now broken. Tyne, they have no reason to stop. They will be looking for their second inhibitor. Lazy Panda on the front line looking to zone. That is Wolgaf in the backline. Nick the Panda is ignited down. Kaki survived. He's trying to. He cannot. Wolgaf gets the first kill. And that's 3 members of Caeli dead. It's a slaughterhouse. And Tyne are the ones doing all the killing. Hunike and Holberg trying to hold on to dear lives in this game. But that will be the second inhibitor. Tyne, they have so much liberty. They can go for the bar and they can even look for more kills, but with their low health bars they might want to play this safer.
Yeah, Rose, however, does have that smite. Technically they can go for it, but Rose instead will go for those wraiths, take everything from Caeli that they can generate in that jungle. And right now Tyne are going to be really happy with how they're playing this out. Bot lane wave also going to be converging upon the remaining turret in the lanes, and now 2 inhibitors are open, both mid lane, top lane. It's just going to be so difficult for Caeli to find a way back into this game, and right now they are relying on a miracle. I do like saying that games cannot be uncomebackable, but well, in this case this very well might be one.
Well, Infernal Dragon, Caeli, I am aware that Tyne are doing bad, by the way. However, there is nothing that you can do to stop them, so I like the fact that Caeli are at least looking to take that dragon, unless Resourcen might say, okay, he will not. Lazy Panda takes the smite now. Can Resourcen get any kills? He finds Nick the Panda. He is getting even more. That, I believe, is now the solar flare. They will be finally taking this all up down anytime soon. The shutdown will go over to the Lazy Panda. That's a 1-for-1 Baron in favor of Tyne. And I mean, I think that is the game fairly shortly, unless Holberg can pull off some massive play on the Sovelian Soul.
If someone could edit that clip for me with just every single auto attack from Trundle being that frying pan stock sound, that would be great. Regardless, now Tyne, they are looking to find even more kills.
Hector is stand up, have a Rubbleguff is on a killing spree. There is nothing that Caeli can really do. If he picks up the rampage, he gets a double. Nick the Panda is gonna get cut down where he stands. Holberg running down under his soul. Nexus, he isn't even saved though. Yerperin with that death sentence. It will be the death sentence for Caeli as Tyne, after a dominant game, to take the best of 3 win.
And I feel like it's the perfect way to end the before, no, what's the stuff prefix, the pre, yes, actually, the pre-playoffs games for Tyne, undefeated in this entire divisions thus far, just cementing themselves as the most dominant team in Division 2, now securing themselves officially the semi-final spot in the league, and the first one, funnily enough, the first spot. So once again, really nice games from Tyne. However, they have shown us that they perhaps are not the cleanest at actually closing games out. However, it didn't matter in the end. They still are way too good individually, and they managed to find the outplay once again over Caeli today.
Yeah, Tiny Sports throughout those all of those weeks, the only game they lost on the paper was the game they were late to and had to FF. I mean, these guys, they're looking to come strong into those playoffs as the first seed in Division 2. Do not forget to vote for your MVPs. The links are in the chat. We'll take a look at that in just a second. You know, I maybe want to talk about Caeli because they are locked in the 4th seed, and even though there is a possibility of Crater overtaking them, they will still play each other. Crater versus Caeli is a confirmed quarterfinal, and after what they have shown today, I maybe have a bit more hopes for them, but they will still need to prepare really hard for that match.
Yeah, it's not like they just know what they do. It's not like they just know what they always want to do. It's not how they want to execute, but they have shown us that perhaps there is that seed that maybe if they just focus really hard on it and they train a lot and practice a single strategy a lot, perhaps that can be a way for them to win that game against Crater. Of course, a lot of the pressure now sitting on the teams of both Division 1 and Division 2, as we're going to be moving into that playoffs next week with the finals being played in Randers? How do you pronounce it? No idea.
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, in that Danish town. Of course, if you guys haven't got your tickets yet, it's www.serenitygaming.org. Buy your tickets now. Yay. I think that me and Kachka are going to be there casting. So
are we? I don't know.
Are we? I think so.
I mean, maybe. If you buy the tickets, then maybe.
Yeah, you go to the fundraiser. Yeah, definitely. Come on. Yeah. Fund this poor student, Kachka out.
Yes, I am a poor student. Anyways, let's take a look at the MVP votes. I don't think really anything that surprising for the side of Tyne. We have Hecates having the most votes, only leading by 1, so not a big lead, whereas Caeli Holberg is amassing most of them.
Yeah, definitely most of them. Holberg had a surprisingly good game today, a surprisingly good couple of games. I feel like as we're going to be moving into that playoff, he is the player to watch on the side of Caeli, because today he has shown us that he can be that crucial step for Caeli to overcome a lot of these bindings that they have, whether it is him playing a regular mage like that Lux, or whether it is him on something like that Aurelion Sol. Of course, he was 1-6-2, but that is generally given to the fact that they were unable to find any leads in either of those lanes because of a botched dive in early game on the bot lane that gave up any amount of pressure, and so he was sort of just forced to roam around. But Lars Holberg, he had a really good couple of games. On the other side, Hecatos, not a big surprise. Of course, the bot lane for Tyne still staying strong. Rose, I have to say, for the fact that we haven't seen him play at least thus far, had a really dominant couple of games. Sejuani is clean, definitely ban it out against him if you're going to be meeting him in the playoffs. And yeah, as you said, no surprises there.
Not really, and I feel like, that is the summary of this game. Anything else that we want to talk about before we wrap up the stream?
Playoffs. No, I feel like we've said everything. No surprises there. Once again, going to quote you. I feel like every single game with Tyne has been just that. No surprises there. But yes, we are going to be wrapping up the stream. Do you want to take it away?
Yes, I do. So don't forget to follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and if you are new to the stream, then join the Discord. The link is in the description. We should be streaming tomorrow as well, so join in if you want. The same time should be 19 European time. And also check out the tickets to the LAN if you are interested. In a quick shout out to the sponsor Gamers Class, who are doing classes on games. Surprisingly, you can get good, and not only League of Legends. So check them out if you are interested. And I feel like this is going to be it from me and Karim today, and we will wish you good night.
Have a good night.